Ahoy, 'tis be Swifto. A few months ago, at the time of recording this, I made a two-part Nostalgia Fest retrospective on the Nintendo DS to celebrate its 20th anniversary release date here in the UK. I wanted to follow that up with a video to celebrate that other great handheld from 20 years ago, the Sony PSP. For that video, I wanted to play some of the PSP games that I had for it back in the day. I started by playing a bit of Test Drive Unlimited and then made a start on Sid Meier's Pirates. I only intended to play a little bit of it to refresh my memory of it, but I ended up getting so invested in Pirates that I switched to the PC version, and then I ended up playing it all that night, through the morning, and into the afternoon of the next day. That's when I realised just how much I really enjoy this game, and wanted to share my love for it with you guys. Those of you who know me well, which is very few of you at this point I would guess, will know that I have a great love of the sea, boats, and of course, pirate-themed video games. So naturally, when I saw Sid Meier's Pirates in games magazines back in 2004, I just had to get my hands on a copy of the game, figuratively speaking at least. This is one of those PSP games that I actually bought from the PlayStation Store back in the day, and then later I got the PC versions on both Steam and then GOG. So I don't actually have a physical thing to show you for this video, sadly, so please enjoy this JPEG of the game's artwork. Tasty little pixels. Sid Meier's Pirates from 2004 is a PC game by Firaxis Games. It's a remake of the earlier Pirates from 1987, which was released on a whole bunch of different systems from that time period. This game came out in several different versions too, but the one that I first played was the PSP version, released in 2007. The PSP version is similar to the PC version, with a couple of little differences here and there. The most notable differences being of course the graphics, which are still pretty good, just not as shiny as the PC, and the controls. And I must say, as much as I really enjoy this game, the controls kind of suck in the PC version. I'm sure there's probably some clever little mod or program that someone has that can allow you to change the controls, but I'm just not that smart, and I prefer just to try and review the game as the programmers intended. So looking in the menu, it doesn't appear to have any way to change the controls, and the game insists on using the number pad for most things, which can be a little clunky and awkward in my opinion. Of course, game controls can sometimes be like people's tastes and opinions. What works for some people doesn't always work for others. The last time I spoke about liking one control method over another in a video of mine, some arsehole came crawling out the woodwork to laugh at me for apparently being wrong. Because I forgot you're not allowed to have opinions that don't conform on the internet. My bad. Anyway, I found the controls for this game a little awkward to play with, but you know, it's not the worst layout in the world, and you do sort of get used to it. For some things, such as sword duels, you can actually use the mouse to click on the number icons, but if anything, this feels more cumbersome, so it's best just to get used to using the number pad. At the beginning of the game, you get your character's backstory. You are a young boy who gets his family kidnapped by the evil Spanish, however you pronounce that name, and you can tell he's evil because the game kindly tells you when someone is evil. From there you go on a revenge quest to the New World, which is actually just the same world, but it was new to Europeans at the time. I don't know, they were stupid. Speaking of time, you can choose which time period you want to exist in, the game's difficulty, as well as your character's special skills. Wit and charm will help you with the courting of the ladies, something which I have no trouble with in real life. Fencing, as you can probably guess, will mean that you're handy with your big knives, and navigation will mean that you'll probably be able to walk around those small coffee tables without banging your toe off it, as I'm so sick of doing. The difficulties range from Apprentice, the easiest, to Swashbuckler, the hardest. I tried to play in Swashbuckler, but of course it made everything a lot harder, and not only that, but it felt a lot slower too, and I really didn't have much fun with it. I know it's kind of the point of harder difficulties, but I personally prefer to play games just for fun, so I wasn't really too fussed about Swashbuckler. Unfortunately, it is one of those games that locks off certain things on easier modes. Certain events will not happen on the easiest modes, and of course, the easiest mode is just a little bit too easy to really be satisfying gameplay wise. So it's best just to go for a mid difficulty setting such as Adventurer. You can give your character a name, but sadly you don't get to customize them at all, and you only have one gender type to choose from, gender male. Once you've got all that out of the way, you're good to pretty much go and live the life of a pirate, ! You can go plunder all the ships you see to your heart's content if you so choose to do so. But there are also a number of other things you can do too. You can go searching for the lost members of your family and try to discover where the Mr. Evil, I'm just going to call him that because I don't speak Spanish and I don't know how to pronounce his name, where the Mr. Evil is hiding, and take your sweet revenge on him. Sometimes saving members of your family will give you parts of treasure maps that will lead you to lost cities full of booty. You can even go hunting for the buried treasures of several famous pirates to earn your fortune. Or you could go hunting for the actual pirates themselves. Each of these actions will not only earn you lots of gold, but also fame points. This fame will grant you favour with some of the various governors throughout the game and their daughters. Each of the governor's daughters come in 3 varieties, from plain, attractive to beautiful. Yes, this game is not very politically correct, but it was a different time, you understand, in the golden age of piracy, back in the mid-2000s. You can eventually marry one of these ladies if you want by taking them dancing, and later you'll have to fight for them and rescue them from a kidnapper. The dancing is a kind of mini-game where you have to follow the directions of your dance partner. On the PC version, you are of course using the number pad, but on the PSP version, you are using the D-pad and have to press a directional button at hopefully the sweet spot in the middle of the screen. I find the PSP version a lot harder, and it seems to be slightly delayed, or maybe that's just because I have poor reflexes. Either way, it is hard on the PSP, I feel. Just be sure to impress your lady of choice and choose the choice lady of your choosing. Or you could just have a lady in every port if you want to, no harm in that. Different times, as I say. Just make sure not to let them find out about each other, and you'll be fine. What could possibly go wrong with that plan? Another minigame, which is a kind of dancing, is the duels. This is a pretty similar kind of thing to the dancing minigame, only they've added an interesting game mechanic, which I like to call fun. Unlike the tedious dancing, you can actually be a little creative with your moves, and even taunt your opponents, if you wish. Just be sure to watch their moves and remember to swing before they do to knock them back a bit, otherwise they'll knock you back a bit and make you dizzy. If you find you're too slow in a duel, head to the tavern at a port and talk to the mysterious trader in the corner. Often they can give you things to enhance your fights, such as better swords, armour and even a pistol. These mysterious humans will also give you other bits and bobs to help you in your travels, such as a violin to boost ship morale, medical herbs to prolong your life a little, and even jewellery to impress one of your many lady friends. The tavern is also where you find clues to where someone you're looking for might be. Sometimes one of your lady friends might be able to tell you of a ruffian with a bounty on their head. Go to the port where they're said to be and talk to the barman, and then you'll challenge that person that you're looking for to a duel. I like playing with just one ship for most of the time. This is because I'm kind of boring and like to try and stick with the same ship for most of the game. It's part of my own personal challenge. So you sort of get attached to that one ship and sort of develop a imaginary history in your head while you're playing. You can, however, have multiple ships and create a little fleet of your own. But it's just a personal preference of mine. I just like to keep one ship in the go, and will only capture a ship now and then, if it's not too badly damaged, to sell at the next port. Having more ships though means that you have more cargo space. This is good not only for cannons, which you need for attacking, and food, which you need to keep your crew alive, but also for goods, sugar, spices, and all those kind of things, which can be sold at a merchant at one of the towns. Also in town is the shipwright, who can not only repair the damage to your ship, but can provide you with upgrades to your ship. But only one, so you'll have to visit several towns to get all the upgrades. It's also worth noting that ships of different sizes and type of course have their advantages and disadvantages. A larger ship means that you can have a larger crew, good if you intend to attack a town or a heavily protected ship. The disadvantage of a larger ship is that it is much slower. A smaller ship will be faster, but you'll have a smaller crew and less cargo space. It can be fun to play around with different ship types and see what playstyle you like best. Once you initiate an attack on another ship, you'll be placed in a small battlefield based on your current location. You'll have the round shot attack initially, but by buying upgrades, your ship will be able to use the chain shot and the grape shot. The round shot has a long range but doesn't do much damage. The chain shot is more mid-range and does more damage than the round shot, while the grape shot inflicts the most damage, but only at close range. There is some fun to be had here in trying to maneuver your ship out of the enemy's attack range, while also trying to line up your own ship to get a shot on them. There is a bit of strategy involved here and can be a little fun at times, but I personally find the naval battles to be lacking in some respects. Ideally, I want to just be lazy and stick with one very big ship that will give me plenty of cargo space and a large crew. Having a large crew is not only good if you plan on attacking towns, say, but will also mean that your cannons get reloaded faster. The more crew you lose, the slower your attacks become. The trouble is, as I mentioned before, larger ships are slower, and when you enter battle mode, it becomes almost painfully slow, to the point where it's not actually much fun, and can often leave you in annoying situations where the enemy ship will simply sail out of the battle zone and then disappear on you. So you have to have a smaller, faster ship to really get any enjoyment out of the naval battles. I guess you could just have one large ship for cargo and crew, and then one small speedy ship for attacking, but like I say, I prefer just to play with the one ship to focus on. But the other thing with naval battles is that there is a fair amount of AI bullshit that comes from it too. If you have a large crew and more guns than the ship that you're attacking, more often than not, they will spawn the enemy ship far away from you, so that they can escape easily. Other times, when they have a larger crew than you, they will spawn closer to you and seem to have a magnetic attraction to your ship, forcing you into the duel minigame before you've had a chance to cut down their numbers a bit. I noticed while playing the PSP version that the naval battles seem to be slightly different on the PSP. The number of guns you have is predetermined by the type of ship you have, and you cannot buy additional guns on the PSP version. It seems also that the distance between the two ships doesn't seem to matter so much in regards to the various types of shot you have. The chain shot seems to be more for damaging sails, which will slow down the ship, and the grape shot seems to be more for cutting down the enemy numbers. So in my experience, it's good to go for the chain shot first to slow down the ship, and then once you have them down to a crawl, keep hitting them with the grape shot to lower their numbers, and then go in to board the ship and steal their loot. So long as your men outnumber the enemies, you should have plenty of time to fight your way through and knock the enemy captain into the briny depths. But having a lot of men to fight during the duels is not a prerequisite. When your character is young or has lots of upgrades, you can just fly through the duels without losing too many of your men. And speaking of your men, be warned, for they are a mutinous bunch at times. You can keep your men happy for a while by successfully looting ships or finding buried treasures. As I mentioned before, obtaining musical instruments can boost morale, but all these things can only keep them happy for so long. The more men you have, the more unhappy they will be. So a good strategy might be to keep your crew numbers low, only watch that it's not so low that you'll easily lose in fights. And the bigger ship you have, the more men you'll need to maintain her. It's a kind of balancing act. Eventually your crew will get so unhappy you head to a port and divide up the loot. Once you've done that, time will pass and ship morale will be reset, so you can continue doing your piratey things. Unless you're too old and have to retire. Yeah. Something which might put some people off this game is the fact that you only have a limited time to play the game. You start off young and healthy, but as time progresses, you become old and of poor health. I don't know what your opinion of it is, but in my opinion, getting old is rubbish.
Don't know why people do it. Stop getting old, it's really lame, come on. When you're old, you become slower, and the duels and dancing get harder. Once you get to a certain age, I think it's around 50-ish, the game will automatically make you retire when you go to divide up your current loot. As I mentioned before, you can get herbs to prolong your life a little bit, and also having the medical skill, which you can choose at the beginning of the game, will also help prolong your life. But sooner or later, death comes to us all, and you must give up the life of a pirate. I personally like to try and get all the family quests out of the way when I'm young. It can be difficult to do, but once you've got that out of the way, it's easier to focus on getting a larger sum of loot from finding buried treasures in the lost cities, which will keep morale good and quiet for some time. Buy all the upgrades you can because you'll really need them as you get older. Then by keeping an eye on who is at war with who, you can easily climb up the ranks of each nation, from captain up to duke. Taking out infamous pirates around the Caribbean can also be a great way to increase your rank. By the time I've killed all the infamous pirates and become a duke, discovered all the lost cities and buried treasures, I'm reaching around the 40 mark, nearing my 50s, but that's when the real fun begins for me. Cause you see, there's something else you can do in the game, and that is attack towns. If you land your ship next to a city, you can walk over to it, and sometimes, but not always, it gives you a list of options. One of these options is to attack. You can also attack from the sea too if that nation hates you enough to attack you from your ship. Once you've initiated an attack on a town, it will then begin a turn-based strategy game, where the object of the game is to either reach the town to loot it, or to defeat all the enemy units, which will sometimes give you the option to install a new governor. This is a great way to win favour with whatever nation you wish to advance and rank in. But also, a challenge that I like to sometimes try is to try and make one nation take over the whole Caribbean. This is something I remember doing on the PSP version, but on the PC version it seems to be a lot harder to do, perhaps even impossible. As sometimes when you try and attack, the option to replace a governor just doesn't show up at all. But I do remember playing on the PSP version and making the whole map orange with Dutch settlements everywhere, just for the crack, you know. This turn-based minigame is easily the highlight of the game for me, as I love turn-based strategy games, Sid Meier's Civilization being one of my all-time favourite game series. This minigame is a bit on the simple side, and is not really all that challenging most of the time. Even when outnumbered a bit, it's still quite easy to win, though obviously if you have just 50 men and you're attacking a town with 400 men, you're gonna have a bad time, so don't do that. But you can attack pretty much any town of any nation that you choose to do so, but not pirate towns or the monasteries or the native villages. For some reason you can't attack them. The pirate towns can sometimes attack towns for you, and this is a good way to cut down their numbers a bit before you attack them yourself. Something else which is a little bit different on the PSP version compared to the PC version is land exploration. It's kind of cool in the PC version that you can just anchor pretty much anywhere and explore the land. There are a few places which can only be reached by walking over land. When you go looking for lost cities or pirate treasures, the maps will direct you to a certain place and you must follow the landmarks to locate the treasure. This is completely different on the PSP version, that will not allow you to explore the land on foot like this, and will instead allow you to land only when you're at the location on the treasure map. You will then be placed in a small, randomly generated map full of dangers you must avoid to get to the treasure's location. Well, it's kind of cool in the PC version being able to explore the whole map on foot. I actually prefer the PSP version for this segment of the game, as it's more interesting to try and avoid all these dangers than it is to simply follow the same basic 4 or 5 landmarks every time. There's more challenge to the PSP version, and I find it more engaging. But again, like the naval combat and town attacks, I just wish there was a little bit more to it. And I guess that's my main complaint of Sid Meier's Pirates! It does so much, but as the old saying goes, a jack of all trades is a master of none. So although there is a lot to do, it all sort of feels a bit bare bones. It does have the naval combat, the exploration, and even a bit of turn-based strategy, but none of it is particularly amazing. As well as that, there's also the fact that once you've done a few things, you'll start to notice how terribly repetitious it all is. The quests to track down your family members are particularly dull in this respect. For every family member, at random times you'll get hints to their location from one of the mysterious strangers or one of the daughters of the governors who'll want to share information about your lost family member. You'll then have to track down the evil Baron Raimondo. He'll then give you a bit of a map, and then you'll repeat this again and again until you have all the bits of the map, and you can go find whoever it is you're looking for, your sister or uncle or whoever, and the same cutscene will play, just with the different character in the same place, the same animations. You'll very quickly get tired of all the cutscenes that play during the minigames too, which do have some variety to them, but it's not very interesting most of the time, and they all follow the same basic path. This might have been acceptable for the late 1980s when this game was first released, but I remember when I first played this version in 2008ish and thinking how dull it was to see the same old cutscenes over and over again. The 1987 Pirates was remade in 1993 as Pirates Gold, so I know this remake is a remake of a remake, but I really feel it's about time that we got a third remake of Sid Meier's Pirates for current generation computers and consoles. I'm not normally a huge fan of remakes and remasters. I personally feel that there are far too many of them these days. But Pirates is one exception where I'd really love to see a modern version of it come out in the near future. Despite my complaints about the game, I have to say that I do really enjoy this game and I loved playing it all over again. The music, the graphics, and the general feel of the game really captures, in my mind, that sense of classic piratey fun, which I really enjoy. It's not very realistic, and is more of a simplified, cartoony look at pirates of that era, but I'm not complaining about that. I feel like games should lean towards being more fun. I'd highly recommend it if you've never played it before, or like the look of it, or have a fondness for pirate-themed things as I do. Even if you were just to take the basic game mechanics and set it in space or something like that, it would still work and be very fun and very appealing to me, I think. So if you'd like to give it a try yourself, it's pretty cheap and easy to find at the time of recording this on both Steam and GOG. I'd love to see a modern version of Pirates with shiny new graphics, better customizable controls, more fleshed out combat and more stuff to do and explore, with also having a bit more customization for the character and maybe even multiple options in terms of like the main quest or your backstory. I kind of wish that it was a bit more like an open RPG. Perhaps it would then become a little bit too involved and would lose some of its simple charm. But I don't know, I'm just throwing out ideas here. What if you could actually see all those acres of land that the governors sometimes give you? What if you could actually use that gold that you get to upgrade these homes of ours, or even customise your ship, or I don't know, do something with it? I do feel like there's a lot of potential here for a remake of Pirates, and as someone who's a big fan of this game, I'd love to see it happen one day. But anyway, I've been rambling nonsense about this game for far too long now. It's time for me to set sail for new horizons. Thank you very much for watching, and adios, me hearties.